BDS against Virtus.Pro is up next, and due to, of course, these two teams and organizations, you can expect this matchup to be pretty close. However, I think with the recent history of these two teams, it might be a little bit more of a stomp. BDS coming in at first, Virtus.Pro currently dangling on the 8th spot. BDS are the only team that's confirmed so far for those playoffs. It's looking really good for them.
They are absolutely dominating. I mean, they had a small hiccup, but other than that, they've been incredible. Like, I love what I'm seeing from them because we're seeing so much firepower and we're seeing a depth of strategy that you don't expect of new teams. I'm super happy with them. And I think that for the future, they just have so much brightness coming out of it because we see timings that are great. They play off each other really well. And then, of course, they have some of the absolute best fraggers in Europe.
We all had them #1 in our power rankings for a reason, right? And I think the sentiment is there, I think, from the whole community, you know, not just us on this desk, but the wider international community as well, is that if anybody is going to challenge, I suppose, the current Furia XW7M teams, it's very likely that it will be BDS at an international event, and that they are probably the team from Europe with the best chance of winning an international event.
Yeah, I mean, as they've been looking, like, who is to stop them? Yeah, sure, they lost to ENS, but they themselves said that was a hiccup in the day.
Yeah.
And then they had an even game against Secret. Sure, it went to full overtime, but that was Secret in their second place. Like, they were the next team behind them. It should be close first to second. But other than that, they've just been running everybody over.
That's something I wanted to talk about because, of course, their start from the stage was really strong. However, the last week, we saw a bit of a blip.
Yeah, so we've got a tail of the tape graphic that we're going to show you. Now, this is a little bit unusual, so stay with me. So it's BDS from Playdays 1 to 4 against BDS from Playdays 5 and 6. Now, the two key stats for me are the team KPR and the team DPR, which I don't really think is a graphic we've ever really shown before. It stands for kills per round and team deaths per round. So in the first 4 Playdays, you can see on average, they're achieving 4.3 kills a round and dying 2.8 times a round. The last 2 Playdays, however, that kills per round has dropped significantly down to 3.1, and the deaths per round has increased significantly up to 3.7, showing that even though they achieved points and they beat Secret, they also lost and had a close game. Things have got a lot closer recently. They haven't been BDSing people.
They haven't been BDSing people, but one thing that we want to look at as well, and something we actually highlighted after dance game, so before Secret, is that they struggled immensely with entry frags. They had like 1 entry kill, I think, in the entire game against ENS, and that's just not something we expect of a roster of this quality. I think that week was just, forget it, we move on, and we're going to just come back and dominate everybody again.
We're expecting that week 1 to 4, or play day 1 to 4 BDS to be back basically now in this present moment.
I mean, there's no surprise why we made up the word BDSing. Of course, they've been showing very strong on those very first playdays. Now, for the future of BDS as well, they've got only 1 more game after this. Yes, they're confirmed for that top 6, but ideally as a team, you want to make it into the top 2. They've got an off day after this, and then they got Fnatic after that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they want. You know, they're going to want to get this wrapped up as soon as possible. I think Secret losing has been very good for their chances. Obviously, a clean win today would put them in prime position.
Yeah, I don't know if it really matters to them. Brutally honest. I don't know if the top 2 spots really matter that much. Because the one thing that matters is that you first of all make it to playoffs. Then if you make it into the first, or in the first 2 spots, yeah, sure, you get the first game free. But the other team that you're playing up against, they've got to play a best of 3. They've gotten into the groove of things.
Yeah.
I think top 6 is just the goal, no matter which position you end up in. So I think people are happy no matter where. But BDS is just so good that they should be taking one of those 2 spots.
They might be back to BDSing again today, especially because their opponent, I think we've got a lot of question marks around them right now of what is going on with Virtus.Pro, especially if you look at their accomplishments from last year and you compare it to what's going on with them this stage.
Yeah, with Virtus.Pro, we're used to seeing them dominate EUL stages. They actually won both EUL stages last year, Fabian, beating out your old team when you were the coach. Just wanted to dunk on you there. So they won both EUL stages online, made to both majors, and got themselves a 3rd place finish at SI. So I suppose my question and everyone's question is, why the hell are they even in 8th place? Why are they at risk of not even making the playoffs?
Let's start from the beginning. Yeah, okay, they beat me, but at least I was in the final and they didn't get relegated. That's the biggest difference.
Yeah.
And then other than that, it's just that, yeah, I mean, I don't care who I get carried by as long as I win. There's only one person with 3 hammers. However, Virtus.Pro have just lost their basics. That's what I think. Like, we don't see that they don't adapt at all. Like, I highlighted a clip on Clubhouse that they played, or Oregon, sorry, that they played earlier. They had free reign of the entire map, and they just didn't do anything with that. And then we were also seeing that they're making the individual mistakes that are just questioning a lot. Because we are seeing so many things from this team, and we're like, oh yeah, they always do the same thing. They have the basics, the best in the world, and then they make a ton of mistakes. I don't know what's happened to them, but something's changed.
I don't know if you just saw the cams there just before this graphic came up. They all looked very stressed and we've not even loaded into the lobby yet. I don't know if it's just the reality of their situation, but like, you know, as you say, it's simple mistakes. It's small things that's costing them rounds because their games have been close. You know, they've not necessarily been well winded by many teams, but they have looked a little bit stressed on the player cams before the game, which isn't something we're used to seeing from them.
Yeah, these cams are in fact live. We're seeing, of course, the players prepare for their matchup that is ahead of them. But then, of course, we talked about, you know, their performances from last year going into this year. What we're currently also seeing is that all these players, and this is the only team that's got that, all the players on the team are rated negatively.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can look too much into the individual ratings when the team is doing so poorly, right? Because the mistakes that they're making leads into individual poor performances, which when every individual is having poor performances, so will the team, which then drags down everybody around them. So by one person having a rough game, people around them get worse. And then when everybody has a rough game, well, things get very, very bad. I don't know if I buy the idea that they're stressed. I'll be honest and say, because they're so experienced that, yeah, they've been in this position before. Things will happen. It's okay to not be in the best position at all times. They know what they need to do. It's just a game in front of them, just like any other. And they're the Russian cyborgs. They don't have emotions there.
I was trying to spy maybe on the monitors of the players to see what kind of map we'll be going to, because we've seen Clubhouse, of course, twice already today. So let's see what kind of map we'll be going to again. But it seems like we'll be heading back to another Clubhouse.
And you know what? I think if there was any game that was going to be Clubhouse, it was always going to be these two, to be honest. You know, Clubhouse has long been a favourite of Virtus.Pro. Long been a favourite of this team. They will always play it if it's left open. But that's also the same historically for BDS. In terms of the old BDS roster, one of the best Clubhouse teams in the world, genuinely. So if Clubhouse was open, I think both of these teams were always going to be happy to go there. In terms of recent history, we haven't really seen BDS on it. We have, however, seen VP on it, and they've not looked the best. It's been a lot of close games, and I don't think that we maybe buy that they're one of the best Clubhouse teams in the world right now.
No, I would not say that they're one of the better ones. I mean, they looked very lost the last two times they played them. They won it against G2, but G2 said they felt lost themselves. So I don't know how much we can buy into that. Overall, though, I think that the BDS map pool is just so massive that they can dictate every single ban phase that they want to and get whatever map that they want. And that's just such a perk to have, that you can just dictate everything, and that's probably what they did today.
Gives you a lot of confidence for best of threes. I know we spoke in the power rankings about BDS in best of threes at the minute, because obviously with us playing a best of one league, we've not yet seen them in a best of three. However, the fact that they've played so many different maps across these best of ones gives you a lot of confidence that should we get to a best of three, there will be teams literally cowering about where to take them.
I was just going to ask, what map do you take them to?
Feedback? Tower? Favela? Or, I don't know.
Yeah, you start playing plane.
Yeah.
Just a few entrances, so you can hold them all one person by one. Yeah, there's just nothing you can do against them.
Yeah, no, that would be a bit silly if we go and play on plane or something like that. But thinking back about the last time these two teams played against each other, obviously for BDS it was a bit of a different lineup because it was during the Atlanta Major. But back then it was a bit of a spicy affair, because I remember it was playoffs. BDS beat Virtus.Pro 2-0 for BDS to qualify to main stage, but for Virtus.Pro to be eliminated from the entire tournament.
Yeah.
Are we feeling similar predictions for today that BDS might take this?
Well, do you know what was interesting actually in Atlanta was actually that was both close games. It was both maps of that were in overtime. I think the expectations today is that BDS might get this done a little bit more in regulation and be a little bit more dominant.
Very different roster for BDS, of course. I think they'll run over Virtus.Pro because of Virtus.Pro's current form. But yeah, it's not going to be pretty for Virtus.Pro.
I wonder if Virtus.Pro will have a Fnatic moment. You know, I digged into Fnatic in the pre-game. They won. I don't know how long I can go along this stage and saying it's just a blip for Virtus.Pro, because at some point the stage will be over and I'll still be saying it, right? Yeah. Because we know they've got the quality. We know they can fix it up. We know it's small things.
Yeah.
Because when you look at this roster, and this is what I keep saying, they've been together for the longest time, right? You played against the core of this roster in Rally, and that's when you was playing.
Yeah.
You've won an invitational coaching since then. That's how long they've been together. So if you look at it over the longer time, is it just a blip? I'm still quite there saying I think it is, and they can sort it out. They can scrape playoffs and still recover this season, but we're getting close.
Yeah, it's getting close. They can still recover, but also having that one rough stage in what, 6 years, 7 years, or however long they've been around, does that really matter? Not in my eyes. You can have those times. Next time they'll recover.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been together for so long that they know what's happening.
they got a good, really good history, and we do have faith. Of course, it's a difficult team they're going up against, but surely it'll be a good matchup. Our game is not fully ready yet, but it's time to bring our casters back in so we can ask them a few questions as well. We welcome back, of course, Ace and Des. How are we feeling about this one? Are we agreeing that it might lean the way of BDS?
Yeah, but I really feel someone's testing my patience for 3 Clubhouse casts in a row. I'm not going to lie to you, Anne.
Yeah, it was me, Des. It's because I hate you.
Cheers, mate. Screw you.
I know there's one person that's going to be very happy, and this is a throwback to a long time ago. Hicks. He's going to be so happy because for the first time in a very long time, he's not the lonely dancer in the club. Everybody's going to the club.
Des isn't going to understand that reference.
That's terrible.
Does he?
Just don't get close to a PlayStation, Des, and we'll be fine.
Okay. Has to be in a mirrored room.
Do you know what? Do you know the viewers at home might have seen me dunking on Des a little bit, but it's because I heard Derry in the warm-up when he was testing his audio. He was really rude to Ace when he was testing his audio today. And I thought, no, I'm not having any of that. So I'm standing up for my good friend Ace. My ranked hero, Ace of Pyrite.
I was gonna say, I had no idea that this was happening, and it's also something I don't really expect from you, Des. I mean, I think we need an apology video with tears right now to Ace.
No. See, the actual thing that happened...
I've been waiting for years for one of them.
He'll never have one. It's never going to happen, let's be honest. I don't know why. We get made to talk. They were trying to lip sync, so I had to just talk like a stream of crap for about 30 seconds.
You said you could cook an egg on his head, Derry.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Gets him outside on a nice hot day, get some sunburn on, and that egg will be cooked to perfection.
Could have said anything. That's what he went with.
Surface.
Yeah.
It goes off.
He could have talked about how the sky was blue and there was clouds and the weather, but no, he said I can cook an egg on Ace's head.
But think about it. You don't even need to add salt because it's going to be salt from his head on that egg. So it's going to be the greatest tasting.
Salt from where? The games or
from his head?
So,
no. No saltiness in ranked. That much has to be said. It's pure vibes when I'm in the stack.
That's true.
Yeah, don't
As opposed
think anything else. Yeah. Oh, well, here I am getting it. Okay. Well, there's a difference between you and me, Jack. Do you know it?
No.
I win stuff you don't.
Oh, okay. I win ranked because I've got Tim Planton.
Wow! Congratulations. You hit gold 4 for the last time.
It's a bit like a real pass-around relationship here, where like Fresh goes for me, Fabian goes for Fresh all the time. I go for Tim. Like Tim, you've got to start really laying into Fabian now, I think, to really complete this square.
Just give me something here. Just say something very aggressive or rude.
Say the first nasty thing in your entire life.
I don't think I'm going to do that, Des. I'm saving it for something really big. I'm saying one day I'm just going to drop something and everybody's going to be like, what? I'm just saving it for that moment.
Jesus.
This isn't it.
Atrocious.
It's very silly because I feel like, everyone's been catching strays here. I feel like so far, Ace got a stray.
I catch a lot of strays, to be fair.
It's usually a team kill, to be fair. Happens all the time.
Repeatedly.
Repeatedly. There's a repeat offender in our stack for team killing.
To be fair, Fresh hasn't killed me in about a year, I don't think.
Nope.
But
Fresh hasn't.
The reason he does that is just because he never goes first. He's a baiter.
You know what? If you guys want to sort this argument out, I'll let you do that later on, though, because unfortunately, I would have loved to toss it to you for the game, but the players aren't fully ready yet. So we'll toss it to a quick break. Of course, we'll remind you what we're all playing for, that Manchester Major, and then we should be back in a few minutes.
Cameraman be the hero now. He'll need to be. G into the line of sight and with a glance on the block to push them to not.
Hey guys, it's Yus from BDS and these are my quick tips for Cafe. Tip number 1 is shoot the glass on every window, no matter what the site is. Second tip is do not spawn Christmas market, you will be spawn peak probably. I don't know if you saw my other segment, good. Where even is that? I still don't even know where that is. I don't even spawn here, that's unfair. I didn't get the thing right because it was Christmas market spawn, I don't spawn there, I'm not a rookie. Third tip, when you're on defense, play mute, open the red hatch, get a C4 at the ready, and then C4 out their roof hatch when they repel it. That's a genius one, that's my favourite one.
Hi guys, it's Leon Gids from Fnatic, and these are my quick tips for the map Border. So tip number 1 for Border on attack, if you throw your drone onto the roof, there's a massive skylight that looks open area. You can put it on top of a little ledge and you can see east stairs, you can see long, you can see the flank from also in waiting room as well. Nice easy drone that is hard to find with loads of information. Tip number 2, if you spawn east side with 0, you can shoot your cam into archives, a little dome on top of office, and into tellers as well. Gives you loads of information early for places that you want to push into the map. And then tip number 3, if you go into customs, just to the right of the jail door, you can vault your drone underneath the table at a point where they can't see it when they're crouched or stood up, so they have to prone to see this drone. But you can also see a lot of customs as well, and towards main door. I don't think I have anything else. I think that's it really for Border.
Hey guys, it's Uno from G2. These are my attacking tips for Night Haven. So I think when you're attacking Night Haven, you need to first obviously see where the site is. But if it's top floor, I think you should always try to open the external walls and then attack it from at least 2 different sides at the same time. If you want to take carriage, take Agua with carriage. If you want to take office, take box breach with office. If it's middle floor, then always use vertical as your advantage. In Night Haven, there is a lot of vertical you can do. Same for basement. Always take the whole map, then start doing vertical. There's so much vertical you can do, so you push them out of the positions, and then it's easier to attack the side because they don't have many positions where they can defend themselves.
Hey guys, Chinka from Wolf, and I'm gonna give you a quick tip on bank. First one is to spawn jewelry. From this spawn, you can shoot pretty easily 3 cams on the map: the outside main cam, the inside main cam from the window, and you just move to atrium and you can shoot the cam from outside. I have 2 drone spots for you. The first one is in main. You have to put it in the planes. There's some planes close to the windows. You can see pretty much all the main, and it's hard to see it. The second one is in top atrium. Kind of same place because you put it in the planes as well, close to the stairs, and you can see very much what you want, and it's really hard to spot.
We saw some exciting things about the Manchester Major, of course, what we're all playing for here right now. Qualifying teams, sending them off to Manchester, to that major. BDS arguably looking very good for that if we pull up the standings as well and see where they're currently at. They could shoot up to 17 points today. They're the only team that is currently qualified and confirmed for that top 6. And we mentioned that Into the Breach and Secret could do that today, but Secret lost, so they're not confirming themselves. And then ITB needed to bank on the win from Secret to qualify themselves into that as well. That didn't happen, so it's still very much up for grabs for everyone.
Yeah, it's still very much up for grabs, and I think the one thing looking all the way from G2 up to ITB, there's 4 points separating all of those places. All of those teams still have even second in sight because a lot of those teams obviously play today and play the next 2 days, so can get a maximum of 9 points.
Yeah, and it's just crazy how close everything is, you know? And if we look at BDS super shortly again, I don't think it's about like maybe, okay, they want to get top 2. But what it is about is sending a message for the entire playoffs that, hey, we are that team that you guys should be afraid of. It's about building that mental momentum against everybody else that they go up against, where they feel, oh no, we're going up against BDS. That's not the feeling you want to have before you go on the server, and that's what they need to cement now, because they've looked rocky. Just make sure that they have it for the playoffs.
Well, the good news is that the players are all ready, the game is ready to go off as well, so we'll send it back to Ace and Des for our 3rd Clubhouse of the day.
Thank you very much, Anne. We're not going to talk any more smack this time around. I'm glad we can just get ourselves focused on Clubhouse instead of talking well into the game about everything else we've been speaking about in the pre-game. But here we are ready to go. 3rd Clubhouse of the day. Will we make it a 4th one in game number 4? That remains to be seen. But first, we've got to see Virtus.Pro, who feel like David in this situation, facing off against Goliath in the form of BDS. This was going to be a potential stingy one, I think, for Virtus.Pro, Tim. However, things have been getting a little bit crazy today. Fnatic have shown themselves up to be pretty big. ITB smashing their way through Wild, but maybe not quite to the level expected. This could be one of those games. You just never know.
Yeah, Well, I always want to be the positive voice. I always want to be the one that says, you know, maybe this can happen. I think Virtus.Pro have just got they've got other problems at the minute without playing BDS, you know. Even the game style so far, Virtus.Pro are our leading team in terms of plants. They've planted more than any other team so far, not including today's games prior to today. And I just think, is that a style that's going to work against BDS? And the answer is, I don't think it is. You know, because the plant, you need control, you need a man advantage generally because you're losing somebody to the plant, and you need to create space. And I think doing any of those things against this BDS team are so difficult, because as soon as you take your focus away from fighting them and onto holding an angle and putting a diffuser down, they just come at you even harder and start finding more kills because you're not focused on the gunfights as much. And so, yeah, I think potentially very tough day for Virtus.Pro coming up. But often when we all expect that, it's not what ends up happening, so who knows?
It's also worth celebrating a little bit how the stats have been going overall for BDS, to be fair. I mean, one thing I'll look at and probably pull on to a little bit here is where there is a little bit of success to be shown for Virtus.Pro. They, at least coming up against a team like BDS, have been extremely good on the entry so far. Very positive. In fact, our best entry percentage rate so far we've got in the whole competition. This will shock you. BDS somehow are right down there at the bottom as well. And I look back over a couple of games. We had Shaiko going nuts and going 6-1, for example, in this game. I think it was against Ents a couple of weeks ago. But you look at the rest of the team, things have not looked good. Solotov being at 3-9, Leakifak is at 6-11. It has been difficult for them. So if anything else, Virtus.Pro are going to find some success, you'd hope, on the entry in these early rounds. But converting it into round wins may then prove to be their downfall. So keep an eye on those early round engagements. That's where there's some action to find out. Here we go, though. Round one, gym bedroom, BDS on defense. Let's see how Virtus.Pro do.
I think that's the big problem against BDS at the minute. Like you said, their entry isn't great, but does it need to be? You know, it's
BDS.
Like, yeah, you know, it just doesn't need to be. Yeah, they 4v5, and 2 seconds later, somebody's going to get a double or a triple, and all of a sudden they've got mana. You know, they just I don't think have too much of a concern playing from a numbers disadvantage. And with the firepower they've got, it's no surprise that that's how they feel. It must give them all, as individual players, so much confidence. If User dies, it's okay, Shaco's still there. It's okay, Solotov's still there. Leakifak, you know, there's just so much to be confident in with this team.
All right, they've got the idea here that Solotov is at least holding himself out on towards Catwalk. Nothing too unsurprising there. And to begin with, it feels almost like you're setting up for a Cash and CC sort of push coming in here. Tim, look how many outlines we've got on this side of the map. I don't expect that's going to last forever. And VP made us turn around and say, you know what? We don't actually really need to get full control of Cash CC itself. Just enough to make sure someone can't play on the window. We see some teams instead opt to stick players, for example. Oh, no way. Leakifak's really trying to trick this close. Okay, this is a different one. Like I said, normally you see this, you're trying to play instead out towards the other side, but as long as Leakifak is quick about it, no, he simply can't get away with it. Dan has done his work. There is homework to stun him out, force him away, and that wall will not be tricked off.
Yeah, essential stun coming in there, as we can see. Otherwise, that bandit battery goes down. Leakifak needs to be careful. He's going to get himself found from bottom garage, potentially, here. We can just see the potential for the oil flank being denied. But a lot of work could still be done from oil pit. They can't just forget about it, Virtus.Pro here, because we are attacking onto that top floor. So if you're up on Catwalk or anything else, it could be a danger still. They don't have to come up the ladder.
What a wall rate big time here is look how much time they've docked off the clock there, and how many players in Virtus.Pro until 5-10 seconds ago were still stuck out here on the east side of the map. They've wasted a minute and a half, if not onwards towards 2 minutes here, really, with very little effort. Like Leakifak was having to play bandit trick, sure, and a little bit of his army support coming in as well in terms of the keeper barriers to cover his retreat back towards site, and they're still causing bothers underneath with Solotov on the Solus. So much work being done to take away the intel from Virtus.Pro, who historically, I think back to the many times they've said, you know, we're very guilty of over-droning sometimes and doubting ourselves instead of just going for it. They're full of doubt right now. They've only got 3 drones left on side. It's a very slow push across the map. BDS is probably licking their lips here with only 30 seconds to go. All 5 alive, and Virtus.Pro still getting set up for the site.
Solotov still underneath on the Solus as well. That's something Virtus.Pro have not been able to deal with. So how did they get the diffuser down? He's going to get the opener as Joystick tries to deal with that, and that is the worst entry death they could have taken. Oh, but no, the trade is there. Will it be too little too late though? Dan's done really well to recognize that. Shepard goes in, tries to get into a position to put this diffuser down, but the challengers keep on coming from BDS. They can't find the man though, as the cover is there. Dan gets it done. Are they going to be able to hold on to this 2 versus 3 as Leakerfact manages to find Dan? But this should really be an opening round for Virtus.Pro.
It should, unless we could see some magic come out here, but it's not going to happen. Shepard from range finds one more. Leakerfact's in, full white flash as well. You've got a player out on the breach to deal with for one, and one still inside the building. It is not looking too easy for them. Straight up on the rappel as well. They can just dance around here, Tim. There's only about 10 seconds still to go, and it looks like through smash and grab, Virtus.Pro are going to find round one, and that's a surprise not many expected.
No, absolutely, and you know, I've got to hold my hands up there. I said that coming in and trying to play the plant game, trying to play the objective against this BDS side might be difficult, but Virtus.Pro have managed to do it. There was an important step that enabled them though, and that was the kill from Dan onto Solotov. He managed to pick up Joystick, who was hunting him, but Dan knew that it was essential that that Solus was taken out, so he backed up his teammate and got the trade, and that really was the round-winning moment because Shepard then able to get it down. Dan again on the cover for the plant as well. Big round from him.
Massive overall. This has always been the thing that frustrates me about Virtus.Pro, and equally about old Team Empire at times as well, is they have this real habit of being outplayed through most of the round. You've had a minute and a half wasted by the roamers. There's still a Solus on the downstairs, for example. There's a player underneath you whilst you're going in for the plant. Like, everything is working against you. Yet they still manage to hit the shots when it counts. They still manage to get the diffuser down. They still have great cover. So even though they aren't playing Siege the way that most of the teams would, where it's all about tons of map control and so on and so forth, they take the smallest slither they need and still manage to get these seemingly impossible rounds over the finish line. And it goes to show as well, like we spoke about their struggles so far. They are so low down the table, as well as being shit hot at the entry. They're also exactly the same when it comes around to plants. They've got the most in the whole competition so far. So a very objective focused team, even with their struggles. And I still think for BDS, this is a game they should be rolling over, you know, every day of the week realistically. But for Virtus.Pro, they do have this infuriating habit for some teams of being able to turn games on their head entirely.
Leakerfact not going to be putting the bandit battery down there. I'm not sure exactly what stopped him, but he was certainly heading in that direction before backing off. Instead, he's going to let the breach get opened, and he's going to pop a headshot onto Joystick from the rappel. So that's going to be a slightly different approach from Leakerfact, but he's going to take his opportunity to drop away and get himself back down to the basement.
Yeah, getting rid of the Capital is massive as well. Yeah, whenever I look for the first entry kills in a round, I'm always looking at those operators on the other side that are really critical to the round. So when you're looking on the defenders, it might be C4 wielders, those with recharging gadgets, you know, looking at things like the Legion there, although you do tend to see Legion out on their own quite a lot, things like the Wamai. Whereas on the other side, you might look more towards these entry-focused operators. Are you too bothered about catching a Jackal, for example, knowing that he ain't going to give you too much on the execute? Sure. Are you going to be ecstatic about catching out a Capital whose smoke and fire is really going to benefit the attackers in the execute? Absolutely. Especially if he was the one, for example, as a secondary hard breach bringing on the tin openers. In this round, I don't believe he was. But that's the kind of stuff that you then start saying, well, that would have been critical to an execute, and now they simply can't use it. So a great first kill to find, and as you said, Tim, back to site alive and well. They've wasted a lot of time. Another beautiful round start from BDS, but I cannot ignore what I said about Virtus.Pro at the end of that last round.
Yeah, as you say, you know, a very good foundation defensively for BDS here, but still a lot of time that needs to be absorbed. And despite the loss of the Capitao, Virtus.Pro have still got a lot of utility on side that they will need. They can get all the hatches open, they can get to tunnel. They've got always on the ram going to be able to do a lot of vertical. We're going to see an impact nade come out and just take down one of those boogie drones, but always will continue battling from above, just trying to prevent the impact trick coming onto the hatch. That will be the hatch open, so it's looking pretty good for Virtus.Pro on the attack overall. Despite having that one man down, they've got a lot of what they need here.
And look at the split they've got as well. Main stairs probably coming in from Shepard. You've got always hovering inside a kitchen. They've got 2 or 3 angles they can maybe push at the same time here if they want to, or just Hail Mary it through the kitchen hatch if you really feel like that's the play, boys, but I wouldn't quite recommend it. Always has also worked its way in the back. Here we go, actually joined up by Pasha on the move through together with the diffuser in hand as well, and Brede has got to get out of danger, but with that shotgun in hand, Tim, This is Murder Alley trying to push against him.
Yeah, this is it. Brede knows that as well. If he can just keep that angle tight, even with the flashes coming in. Look at that. He knows that a second piece of utility's coming in. It doesn't stop him getting a double. 1 and 2. Kiss, kiss, bang, bang. Leaves them in a 1v3. And that is Brede and BDS taking Church and Arsenal.
And that really is how round 1 should have played out. Lots of time wasted by BDS, really forcing Virtus.Pro into what I described on a previous broadcast as forced errors. There's no time on the clock. You haven't got a choice about pushing into a shotgun. You have to push the shotgun and hope for the very best. But when it's a player of Brede's caliber sat there waiting, yeah, good luck. So again, well played in terms of time management, I think, coming out from BDS. Virtus.Pro had some of the right ideas, but fundamentally left it a little bit too late to really get much done. And went a little bit limp there, I think, towards the very end of the execute. And it all started out realistically with this execute onto joystick from League Fat there on the Bandit. I think that really starts taking away a lot of the ideas they had for that Capitao and able to make use of the smoke to cover off lines of sight. And to have to kind of stitch an attack together off the back of that.
Brede has absolutely no right coming away with 2 kills there. Full white flash and still managing to find them on the tight angle with the shotgun. And it just goes to show the experience of the player, really, knowing his angles around Dirt Tunnel, knowing the distances that he'd be engaging at, and knowing that all he needed to do was press mouse 1, and it was likely to be at least 1, if not 2. So well played from him, well played from BDS. And we've got what could be, more of a fight than maybe we first expected on our hands here. Virtus.Pro with a very nice round 1, great execute, created space well, and the cover was fantastic. And then BDS coming out with a very solid defense in round 2. So both of them taking a share of the spoils at the minute here in the first 2 rounds. And we're going to have a CCTV and cash hold this time around. Solotov is out there on the balcony, on the garage catwalk with the Azami. So I'm looking to see how they're going to deal with him. Always does have the Capitao on side, so it should be relatively straightforward for Virtus.Pro.
Classic. I feel like we don't see it enough anymore. I mean, you actually sometimes see things like clashes used and shields used as well. You realise he ain't got time to get away with it as well. Wall open once again. It feels like a real throwback to the old days, doesn't it, of bandit tricking, that we haven't seen that much, truthfully, for a long, long time. Whereas previously, it would be every single round on this site there was some kind of tricking on the go.
Honestly, I love bandit tricking. It's one of my favourite things. I think there's nothing more satisfying when you're playing on the wall, you're putting your battery down, and you just hear that as the exothermic gets taken off the wall. It's absolutely
and you walk away
beautiful.
Like cool as all hell. Like, don't worry, boys, got
you're
it.
just like, yeah, and what? Yeah. Especially if you get 2, you're just like, yeah,
no big deal.
Played them like a fiddle. This time, construction wall is going to get opened by Shepard. So that's going to be all of the breaching work done. Again, something that Virtus.Pro do well, and it's no surprise with Shepard on side. He's one of the best support players, that we've seen consistently over the last few years. So the fact that all that work is done, even with, the Tubarão on side, the Bandit on side, they've got that denial, but still, the walls are opened. Virtus.Pro also starting to work from master side as well, so BDS, they're going to be put under some pressure.
Largely not paying any attention towards Garage, instead of just going for this. I would say you need 2 sides really to make a push happen here. You could argue there's no north side to this side, but maybe you look at top red for that kind of push. But construction, platform, and then Garage are one of the main 3 that you get, or 2 of the main 3 that you've got to pick from. And here they've really focused on trying to get the west side control, as well as opening up that breach from the east. Joystick, we saw him down in the basement earlier, sniffing around. Here, he's still down on that ground floor, just trying to make sure any rats that are lurking, leaking back in this case, are being sniffed out and exterminated.
Going to have that utility thrown in over the top. Dan manages to pick up Solotov, so that's Garage cleared out as well. Shaco super low health here. He's going to take 1 bullet, and it's going to be Always that finds it. 5 versus 2, and surely this is going to be another successful attack for Virtus.Pro. BDS currently only able to hold on to that basement. They've got users, they've got Brede, who are going to try to keep a hold of it, but no, Dan moves in, finds a kill, and ultimately it's a flawless round for Virtus.Pro, and they go 2-on.
Just so carefully manufactured together, these rounds. I love it. Starting from that first kill from Joystick, dealing with the Roma to take away any of the kind of upset from below that might come in, the denial and the plant, for example. And even when these small windows of opportunity open, like Yuzu's getting himself onto the bomb chassis, I was like, how on earth has he got here when main breach is open? He should not be here. And I thought that he would find the man playing on west window, but just the way timing worked out with the C4 coming to hand, finds himself shut down, and just kill by kill by kill, Virtus.Pro managed to work their way through each individual player on BDS and make out a very, very comfortable round 3. Start to get a little bit nervous now for BDS. And I thought after that second round, I was like, you know what? They've shown here they can defend, they can waste time, they can trade things out, no problem at all. But Virtus.Pro now having 2 on the board, starting to feel a bit nervous.
This is it, BDS. We've seen it already. You know, we saw in the result against ENCE where a couple of rounds started going here and there, and you look at it and you think, it's BDS. They've been playing brilliantly. Surely they're going to come back. And they just, you know, never really were able to get it done. And you just wonder if Virtus.Pro can get themselves maybe a 4-2 half here. We know, you know, not maybe recently, but at least over a longer period of history, this is a team that knows this map inside and out. And, you know, get them on the defense with an opportunity to get some points on the board, which could be really important. Let's not forget, Virtus.Pro currently sitting 8th place out of 9. They're on 4 points. A win isn't enough to get them into the playoff places, but it's enough to get them close. It could potentially bring them within 1 point, and then you're looking at the last couple of play days thinking, yeah, you know, there's an opportunity to fight for one of those spots here. So as Fresh said, you know, they're not out of it yet. There is a possibility still for them to make it, and if there's any team capable of it, surely it's them.
Here we go again. He's going to try and stick it this time around. He's really going for it. I think he might actually get it this time. Tim Wall stays closed. So they've dealt with him so well before. This time around, no such joy. Concussions are gone from Dan as well, but it's just about wasting that time. Remember, it's not all about holding onto the site, strictly all the room, strictly the whole time. It's just about wasting time. And with that wall remaining closed now, Virtus.Pro are going to have to figure out a new way through this BDS hold.
Yeah, that's really big from BDS. They'd tried it previously. They've iterated on it. They've managed to get the job done this time, and it is going to make life a lot more difficult because we saw last time, if you remember, Dan got a kill from Billiards window, got a kill from Gym window. Without that wall open, he's unable to play that position. So they have to double down. They have to get it opened up. That's now going to leave them reliant on Pasha on the Hibana to get any other breaching done, such as the Jacuzzi wall. But in all honesty, it's likely to stay closed. And that just allows BDS a lot more freedom to play around that corner of the site.
At least for now, they've got themselves cleared on through. Not clearly 100% sure that everything is actually fully cleared out here. Just even with 6 drones up on the field, a little bit nervous about careering their way through or slowing things down. Probably aware that the clock is becoming their end. Oh, no! It's almost like the reverse Shaiko from a couple of weeks ago with that 2-tap onto the border barricades. Wonderful stuff to see. And I've been able to see a leaky patch just like, how? Like, what? Why? How? Siege moment.
It happens. It happens. It's, you know, always take a few shots at each barricade that you see. You never know what's behind it, and you're never usually that short of bullets. Dan is going to take out utility from that gym window. They are using that same side of aggression again from the balcony, just trying to pressure the defenders. But BDS, they just feel a little bit more comfortable. And why is that? It's because this wall is closed. Shaiko now able to play on this corner around Jacuzzi wall because of that exothermic being tricked early on. Pasha hasn't gone over and opened it up, so now it's going to be difficult for Virtus.Pro to get themselves in here. 15 seconds, they've got to get a diffuser down.
Flash train towards Bassman as well, opens them up to start their march off before, but Bride's got the sidestep here. Shaiko into a second as well, and suddenly Virtus.Pro starting to bleed out members, but have found themselves one more back. They can't hit their shots, Tim. Solotov might find one more, but a 2 versus 2 with 2 seconds to go. It's all on Joystick to do the lot here as well, but he can't hold off against both. Up on the bed is not going to be enough. Uses with the close in 2K, and once again, the clock works against Virtus.Pro.
Yeah, BDS having to fight really hard. It's tooth and nail stuff here to try and get every single round on the board, but the big moment there that I think won the round pretty much like I said about Dan killing Solotov underneath in round 1, there was another one of those key moments, and it was that bandit trick out on CCTV wall. It came early in the round, but it just depleted that hard breach utility, and as you could see at the end of the round there, BDS just far more comfortable. By Shaiko sitting by Jacuzzi wall, they were trying to build pressure towards Jim again, but as you saw, Dan had to dip away. He had to take the fight on Master window instead. They had to try and plant on the bed, and it just wasn't ideal for them in any way, shape or form.
Whew. All right, 2 and 2. We casters love a little saying, Tim. Our saying for this one is, we've got a game on our hands. It's really starting to build into one. We get that 3-3 half. Like, you can already feel with the way that the game has played out so far that overtime is on that horizon. It feels so early to say it, but the back and forth nature, unless we see a drastic change when BDS get on the attack, which I'm not expecting, they are no slouches at attacking. it does suggest we're going to have ourselves a very close game the longer this one wears on. Still, something quite interesting coming in this round. Tim, we've got the Ossa on side for Shepard. Now, the key thing to note is that actually, yes, guys, we are down in the basement. However, once again, BDS just cannot let Garage or Cash and CC go. Still got players playing up there and looking to waste time on the side of Virtus.Pro.
Yep, going to be Solotov this time. Leakifak in support as well, going for potentially the same play again, but you're not going to catch anybody. You can see Leakifak just knows that the time is so short, he just has to go through the motions. It doesn't matter the fact that there's not an exothermic on the wall. It's like, no, I've got a barricade, I've got a battery, I've got to do it, because there is so little time to get from one job to the other. But as it is, he's going to hold on to that wall for the time being. Virtus.Pro deciding they don't want to be burning any of that hard breach utility this time, and always has got himself inside. Probably going to be undetected here. There might be an opportunity for him to catch out BDS, depending which way they choose to rotate back to site.
I like it. It's the same as you remarked back in round one. VP take control of what parts of the map they need and nothing else. And the reason why you've got always set up here around top main stairs, hovering around bedroom, is one, to try and catch these players who might retreat through the side of this side of the map thinking it's safe, but two, to also protect Pasha downstairs so he can still get busy inside a kitchen, opening up the hatch, playing that tricking game that we've seen them sometimes employ, really looking at Solotov when I say that, but they can start thinking already about what the execute looks like later, whilst always is just there as a little bit of security up on top floor.
And that is the problem with Dirt Tunnel being left soft. Of course, Brede able to just spray through and take out a few of those X-Kairos pellets because the wall was soft. I don't know how many detonated ultimately, but it may well be that it's not a passable breach. There you go. It's not going to be, so more work is going to have to be done there. They do have the sledge on hand. They've got other operators that can get the job done. But again, it's all about time. It's just burning those seconds away to prevent. Oh, we're still back up to the top floor, still aware that there is somebody up there that needs dealing with, and it is Solotov.
Just being a nuisance, right? It was Joystick who historically has been the player hunting him down, but for this site, as we saw previously, Capitao is what he stepped on. He was the entry death last time around when Leakifak swung out onto main breach and got rid of him. So really trying to keep things nice and simple here. Probably playing in behind the smokes, which is why instead it's always playing off on that upstairs. He's done his work, got themselves firing off in towards Dirt, so no one can swing in from there, and then making the play from here. But Leakifak has got him behind! He slipped through the net, and there is a fox in the coop, Tim! They've got the down there so sorely need, and Shaiko into another as well. A BDS masterclass once again, just dancing around this Virtus.Pro setup.
So worried were they about Solotov on the top floor. They didn't pay attention to Leakifak in the basement, and he gets the job done in a big way to set off a chain of events that becomes a flawless round for BDS, and that was a great defense of Church and Arsenal. Absolutely love watching that from BDS there, just brilliant. Solotov on top floor never dealt with, you know, enabling him to stay up there by playing that bandit on the CCTV wall again, just never letting Virtus.Pro feel comfortable. As you said, they're happy to say, you know, we've got the bit of the map that we need, so we're just going to play with that. But they didn't have everything they needed. They didn't have control of bottom main. They didn't have control of Leakifak, and it was really well played from BDS. Great round, 2-2.
It's always been my concern really overall for Virtus.Pro again, is that things become a little bit readable. Like, they keep things nice and simple, which is nice to see sometimes. But the lack of cover here really just stung them. And the fact that it's crossed down, as you say, through main hall without anyone watching it is the real sting in the tail, I think, that would have really, yeah, upset Virtus.Pro there. A good idea, good execute with BDS, and it's like, we've seen this movie before. We know how to respond, and fair play to Leakifak. He's done exactly what was required of him. Up to our last round of the half then, Virtus.Pro, one more chance to make this one work. And Tim, do my eyes deceive me? I believe we're on a bar stage defense, are we?
Attackers must locate and defend
We are.
the bomb.
There you go. There you have it. It's 3-2 as well. I was getting a little behind myself. I thought we'd only tied up round 4, but it is going to be round 5 that's just been
Future is now, old man.
It certainly is. It's just been, honestly, such a fascinating and interesting game. It's been easy to get lost in it, essentially, because it's more about the individual battles, really. It's more about, you know, fighting over little corners of the map and who clears out the Roma, who doesn't, and everything else. else that's gone along the way. The bigger picture has slipped past me, but Solotov, he's going to be up on the top of Garage once again. We've seen this a few times. Knows that somebody's run past, but the Nitro is going to be way behind where it needs to be. And BDS will continue trying to hold on to this top floor, though. Leakafak is there. He's going to be trying for the trick again. They've done a great job of keeping this wall closed so far, and he's going back in for a little bit more. He wants some afters, Des.
Try to do what he can. We'll keep it closed off here as well, but still, just the amount of time that he's wasting doing this round after round. I really thought we'd see people start posting up, for example, on the west window. Will he get away with this? No, he won't. Run, buddy, run! No! I really thought he might die to the exothermic going off there, but no. Does keep himself out and alive, which is always good stuff. But again, that key thing for me is no one's really looking to play on the west window for Virtus.Pro of the site, of the room even, not really the site in this case. But it's one of those where a Capital Firebolt over the top, you can have some impacts coming in from that side from the Zofia. That can prove to be enough. Yeah, every single time they've kept it pretty plain Jane, to be honest with you. Trying to make use of the drone hold to get the concussions in from the Zofia instead of relying on EMPs coming out. So they've got their own approach, but I thought they might try and change things up once or twice just to upset the apple cart and catch out a player on BDS or two.
You're just seeing the importance of the top floor here as well. 3 BDS players playing basically on top of each other at the minute, and it's because they really want to keep a hold of those verticals they've opened up. They know that that is the route to a victory when defending at this site. If you can just keep that locked down, it's very difficult to get in, get a plant, but Virtus.Pro are doing well here. The pressure's mounting now that they've got the windows. You can see BDS are dropping deeper and deeper. If Virtus.Pro can continue this push, get a couple of kills up on top floor, they can start thinking about a plant. But once again, as always, time is going to become the factor for Virtus.Pro here. 40 seconds left to go. Still not in confident control of top floor. Still not in a position to put the diffuser down, and still got players underneath that can impact on this round as well.
Pasha's really looking for something here as well, but I don't think he's going to find it. I was about to say, I'm pretty sure it's the bout that he's fighting off against here, but where have we seen this before, Tim? Just disruption all around the map. BDS trying to waste time, and here it comes again. Oh, Yuzi's not going to lose that one out. Finds his man, Shoko, into a second as well, really unlocking himself across these last couple of rounds. And with 10 seconds on the clock, yet again, Virtus.Pro are forced to push in with nothing left to really work for them. No chance for mistakes, and unfortunately, Tim, they've made a good few of them. BDS will clean up and take the 4-2-half.
Yeah, and I just feel like those last 2 rounds, round 5 and 6, have not been good for Virtus.Pro, in that BDS have really come through and started to find their feet, it feels. They're winning gunfight after gunfight, flawless round in round 5, of course, you know, and you just saw it there, just picking up kill after kill. User Shaiko, 2 dangerous players to be finding the confidence and hitting their shots like this, and I'm a little bit worried for Virtus.Pro at the switch of the half. I feel like now we go into that area whereby BDS can take the initiative. It's down to them how quick the game is played. As the attackers now, they can just get in there, get aggressive if they want to. If Virtus.Pro choose to play with anybody on the roam, they're going to be getting chased down quickly by players like Shaiko, I would imagine. And it's potentially going to be a tough one for Virtus.Pro to hold on to now.
It is, but Tim, like I always say, 2 halves to a game of Siege. This could be a very different outcome that we're expecting. And yeah, for all I was saying about like the time-wasting efforts from BDS and Virtus.Pro really letting the clock be their main driver in that first half, their executes were good. So I think you're seeing them a bit more on point today than what we've seen from them historically. Is it going to be enough to bring down EU's #1 team? Probably not. But I wouldn't be surprised to see them taking a few rounds here and BDS really being a bit out of options at points as well. Could be completely wrong, could be an absolute rollover from BDS, but I do feel with how that first half went, we are seeing better quality today from Virtus.Pro than what we've seen historically.
Round 7 is underway, 15 seconds in then, and we're going to have immediate attention probably towards Dirt, I would imagine. We've got a Ram on side, so we'd expect to see some kitchen control, a lot of verticals being opened up on and into site. The question is, are BDS happy that they've got control of the map and able to move on in? It certainly looks that way, but in goes the Boogie drone to kick things off as Solotov manages to find down with a headshot for the entry.
I'll give it to them as well, for all I was saying about the entry battles earlier on and how BDS haven't exactly been the most fortunate in it so far, should we say. They are 5-2 on the entry in this game, so going real strong so far. And Virtus.Pro, I said they were the #1 entry team that we've got in the whole competition. Definitely not looking like that, at least in this game. BDS just seems to be a few steps ahead, always got the pace ahead of them and seems to be catching them out with it.
Yeah, and they can use the clock now as the attackers. It's not too often that we say that, really. It's usually, the timing for Pasha there, so unfortunate, but that just again shows the great team play from BDS, just getting in there at exactly the right moment, opening up that vertical and preventing the man being able to play the angle up onto the window. So really well done from them. Otherwise, they'd have been in danger of losing Brede. As it is, the kitchen hatch gets open, and again, BDS is another tick in a box for what is a very checkmark attacking site. There's certain steps that you have to complete. BDS now have a majority of them and can start thinking about how and where they will deliver this diffuser.
Got the time to do it though, right?
Yeah,
that's the most important part.
100%.
They've got the entry, they've got the time, they've got all the utility in the world they could possibly need to get it done. Shaiko on Capital, admittedly not something I thought I'd see all that much of in my lifetime, but here we are. Still have that available. I spoke about it quite a bit in the first half. He uses with the Grim as well. You know, lots of work they can do. Arguably maybe a bit too much in terms of vertical destruction with both the sledge and the ram on side, but it gets the job done. As you can see, the ceiling basically completely opened up, and Leaker back is in. Will he get away with it? Yes, just about slipping on through, but the round comes on through. Pasha's there and finds his man. They're dropping in, C4 over the top. Pasha not going to find his man. Finally shut down, and Brede dancing around smoke and fire and brimstone and everything else you can possibly throw at him, but he's still in one piece. Just got to be careful about this long angle though. Going back towards the full, has always looked away. Will round through, finds Shaiko, finds the second as well. Always is going absolutely nuclear. Makes it a 4K, dancing around Blue and Church here, and gets that first round on the board for Virtus.Pro.
You've got to feel that BDS have let that one slip away a little bit, and always, particularly Virtus.Pro in general, were more than happy to mop it up given the opportunity. You just feel like BDS maybe didn't have enough information about what was going on inside of site. Shaiko just shot from the side, as always, wanders into Blue, just didn't really have their angles locked down. I think, you know, at first I thought the cover was good because Shepard sends out a nitro, and he triggered it, but I didn't hear it explode, so I can only assume that that was shot out from the hatch maybe to protect the planter, but BDS just didn't really get that final step done. They'd done everything they needed to, but Virtus.Pro stood up tall. Can't rely on a 4K from always every round, but they'll certainly take them when it happens.
Woo. I do agree, like, they had no idea across all of these kills exactly where always was. Totally out of sorts, but up until that point, in a good position, I thought. So hopefully it rolls over into this round. We see more of that promise coming out from BDS. It's not every single round that you're going to see a player going nuclear and picking up a 4K to clutch things out without having a single shot fired in his direction. Really good stuff. Change sites, of course, this time around. Going to find ourselves up on the top floor in gym and bedroom, Tim.
Again, it's going to be a push across from the CCTV side that I would expect from BDS. We saw a great example of what can happen when you don't get that jacuzzi wall open, though. This is a site that needs multiple sides of pressure, and BDS need to make sure they pay attention to that.
What's to do? I mean, admittedly, one thing I'm curious about we haven't seen too much of, I guess with it being banned away, actually, it's not the end of the world, but we spoke about the Tuberau earlier on, for example, in our earlier game, saying that often if you see the Maverick taken away, you'll see the Tuberau follow, the same with the Kai pairing coming on through. And this is a spot now where with the Kai taken away, it's not seen as too much of a bother. It's why you're getting so much of this kind of old school bandit tricking gameplay coming on out. VIP at least being opened up, and beat Brede, by the way. I saw this on his cam earlier on. I was like, the man likes playing in darkness. Everyone else, at least a relatively lit room for Brede. Look at him. Man's a man of the night.
I love it. The mood.
We've seen more of his glasses than him.
Absolutely brilliant stuff. Solotov then, he's going to be getting himself quickly on into garage, just being cautious over any potential presence inside of oil pit. Not going to be anybody down there that's going to be looking to challenge. I think Leakerfax just crouching around down there as well, maybe on the mid-level. Yes, he is. He's just inside of stock. So that's going to give them a lot of control here. Virtus.Pro have had to fall back, but look at the area they're sitting in. Jacuzzi wall not open yet, and therefore Virtus.Pro can feel safe playing in that area for now. I would like to see BDS get themselves open, get that opened up, but there is no exothermic charge. It's going to be down to Solotov on the ace to get that job done.
Just got to make sure they can work through this side of the map relatively unscathed as well. A lot of their drones slowly disappearing away here. Saw that from Virtus.Pro back in the first half, so it'd be unfair to not mention it for BDS as well, but a decent job being done of whittling down that information game. Virtus.Pro had often been down to 3 in about 75 seconds left. Here, it's only 3 out on the field with about 60 left on the side of BDS. So a similar sort of story, but now with themselves in some good positions, really looking towards a bit of logic control, I imagine. But they've got the south windows, they've got construction door in their favor as well. Lots of stuff coming together for the French side here, and now it's about the execute already with the scrim on side. It's going to help things out.
Yeah, the plant is going to have to come on the master side because Jacuzzi Wall hasn't been open. They're going to have to go in behind kills, and that's exactly what they do as Shako finds one, but always stands up, uses for the trade. This is a back and forth at the minute. Virtus.Pro managing to hang on in for the time being, but Dan and Shepard find themselves in a 2 versus 3. Diffuser is down cold at the minute, and it's going to need to be collected by BDS. So Virtus.Pro, with this little safe corner, can maybe play for a little bit of time.
Real danger is these keeper barriers are kind of working against them here, Tim. They're giving BDS something to play with. But Dan's on a full round here, one on towards main stairs. If he gets a shot in the back as well, this could be all they need. Finds one, can he get a second? Yes, he can! Dan going completely unchecked, undroned on the flank, and Virtus.Pro will take another round, Tim. Things are all square.
And look at the foundation. Look at where Virtus.Pro were able to build that from. It was a brilliant flank out through logistics, but guess what? He went across the top of main stairs to get there. It was then a great kill onto the player trying to work up main stairs, but again, able to challenge that angle because Jacuzzi Wall hadn't been opened. It just provided too much safety, too much sanctuary for Virtus.Pro, and they were able to build a great round from there. Really good defense from Virtus.Pro in the end.
It's one of those to look at again, and always 4K in the previous round that probably shouldn't have happened. A flank there that you'd really hope a team of BDS's caliber would be able to capture, given they had construction control, they had the south balconies, and that really was their go-to execute. Yes, including a backstab coming up main stairs, but you'd hope at least there'd be something watching that one out, and instead they just get stung and shot in the back. As mentioned for Virtus.Pro, they are not going to be complaining, Tim. Things are all square at 4 apiece. They're the ones on the defensive clubhouse here. Are we about to see them upset the current kings of Europe?
Certainly a possibility at the moment. Like you say, some uncharacteristic, mistakes essentially coming out of BDS. Like I say, I'm sure that there's reasons for it, and time's always a factor and other elements, but with that Jacuzzi Wall open, it's not a guarantee. Maybe if Virtus.Pro feel that there's nobody on that breach, then yeah, you can sort of risk playing in that area. You do get comfortable with it after a little while. You think nobody's there, but there's a good chance that maybe they're not playing in that area. They don't have the freedom to go for the flank to challenge onto main, and BDS might just rue that decision come the end of this one, as they find themselves now 4-4. They're going to be attacking on to CCTV and Cash. My question is, do they keep it simple? Is it just purely breach and garage, or do they try to separate themselves, split up a bit, and get some construction pressure on the go as well?
Also back in that first half, we saw the main focus from Virtus.Pro being that split more horizontally, getting the main breach opened up and then construction control being on their side, and that was really their game plan. That's what they did. Whereas on BDS's side, at least looking in towards what the operators they've got here, the Capitao, you see that immediately. You would have seen that being a catwalk push coming on through. So look out for that, probably coming up against Joystick, given that he's sat currently on the Azami. I'll say currently, will be for the rest of this round, but he'll be sat in there holding in tight. So it's all down to BDS's team play here to get him removed, of which really, when I think about it, BDS are one of those teams that are excellent at that style of team play. Should be able to clear their way through, but we've seen Virtus.Pro hitting some pretty naughty shots this game.
Droning will continue for the time being, just making sure that nobody's playing underneath, of course, looking to get that late position inside of Lounge for the vertical denial, potentially. Leakifak is just positioned on the knock. I mean, we've seen, an awful lot of knock play from Leakifak over the last 18 months or so. The operator, of course, dropped off in popularity after the changes to the nades, but can still be really self-sufficient. Does still have nades, also has hard breach, plenty of options. Look at that from always, though. Absolutely firm in it. Doesn't matter that the floor's opened underneath him, and that's the kind of bravery I love to see on a bandit trick. He's going in for answers.
No way.
He's not going to get it. He gets blasted in the face by the exothermic, and what a passage of play we've just seen from hero to zero.
You know what? I admire the balls on that, man. Sticking that
go for it. I love
maybe
it.
You've got it. Yeah, I'll always back it. I'll always back it. It's just more the fact that he could have been blown up from one more hit from below, from Solitov, for example, and he still goes in for it. Good stuff, but for BDS now, that puts them in quite a commanding position, 5v3. And they've got this split up here. You can see Shaiko out towards the west side. They've got the main breach. Still got to be concerned about joystick, I feel, inside of Garage. But you can see with 2 or 3 players converging on this side of the map, that just screams to me that they want him gone.
Gonna have the flame arrows going in. Joystick looking for the fight, but nope, that's how you deal with Garage. Catwalk, it's all up to Shepard. Manages to find one. That's at least gonna prevent the flawless round, but he's got an awful lot ahead of him. It'd have to be a 1v5 ace clutch if he wants to close this round out. And look at his hit points. Just a little tiny flashing red sliver at the bottom there. Very little for him to go with. Taking the jump out, noses the opportunity. Does manage to get another, but the cover is there. And that's going to be the round as we expected for BDS. But always, I tell you what, he pulls that off and he wins the round. It's as simple as that. But I think sometimes excitement just gets the better of us all, Des. And he thought he could get back in. He knew that he couldn't really. That was a head and heart situation. His head knew that he didn't have time, but his heart dearly wanted him to.
So brilliant. It's those things that tickle me. Same as the exothermic death that followed through just after, you know, the jump out at the end as well to try and deny the plant off. A really good round overall, at least in terms of entertainment value. But BDS in full control, and I spoke about it earlier on. I love seeing teams that can execute onto individual players as a team. Dare I say it, it's the word that many look at and call split theory. Can we get an overwhelming numbers advantage onto an individual player somewhere on the map and crush down onto them? And that's exactly what they did inside of Garage. The double firebolts come on through, the man's forced to step up and walk away. And guess what he's running into? The waiting arms of 2 BDS players, and it's the one on the Garage door that gets him. Really good stuff, really good play. Virtus.Pro, though, I don't think will be too bothered about it. They did take those first 2 rounds. They can get more, Tim. They don't need, really, to get themselves a couple on the board. They're pushing towards overtime. The BDS, though, it's only 1 round to get to that point. Virtus.Pro, I think we'd all agree, need those points far more right now.
100%. As we already know, BDS locked into the playoff places. They have got the job done, essentially, and as Fabian pointed out, really, as much as you want one, you know, first or second, you want to sort of assert that dominance, you want to put that image in the other people's heads, or, you know, God, we don't want to play BDS, and but at the same time, like you said, you know, not playing in that first round of the playoffs, sometimes the other teams get into the groove with the best of 3, and it can be a tricky situation, so I don't think either way will be the end of the world for BDS, but like you said, Virtus.Pro, they're fighting for their lives inside of stage 1 at the minute. They want to, you know, have that opportunity to get themselves to the major, so lots of work for them to do. Next couple of rounds particularly important, but look at this, BDS getting really aggressive towards site, Des.
Oh, they know where he is as well, so Shaiko's just like, oh, yay, free target practice. Got to be so careful where he's holding himself in here as well. Got himself inside a moto for that exact reason, and traps him out with the fire as well. This is looking good, but the fire's on them, Tim. They're burning alive inside of there. Shepard's going to bring down Solotov. It's not super ideal. More fire comes on through. What the hell is going on? Absolutely torched by the Goyo for the most part, but Yuzus is in, finds one. A second down main corridor as well. It's backstab galore here, Tim, as the French side are just running over Virtus.Pro. Yuzus completely unchecked, and they'll get the closeout they need. BDS up to map point.
You got to feel for Virtus.Pro there. It feels like BDS have just flicked a switch and said, you know what, we're going to have to hit 6th gear on this one and really start to accelerate. You saw it from the intention from the beginning of the round, straight into blue, really aggressive. And it's the reason I say it's a shame for Virtus.Pro, they'd set up for it. They knew they had the Goyo canisters. They were burning them out in there. They were just really preventing them moving, but Yuzus just comes on the other side and does Yuzus things, takes down one after another, and closes out the round along with Leakerfax. So as you say, BDS getting themselves now onto map point, and I just feel like that might really have broken the spirit of Virtus.Pro in this one.
Oh, that's always been the battle for them, is, you know, with how well they were playing. And that first half, although again the map control they didn't really have on side any of their executes, I thought the gunplay was good enough that they might be able to get a few rounds over the line, and we saw that in their first round of this half, with always popping off with a big 4K. But since then, it has felt like a little bit more of a battle to get things done. BDS just got that extra pace, a few steps ahead. Like I said, the team play they've got is on point here.
5 seconds
and so Virtus.Pro just feeling the heat a bit too much right now. They need to hold on for 2 rounds. We're starting things off down in the basement once again. Clearly feeling they can correct from past mistakes. And BDS have got their own game plan. They're going to show Virtus.Pro how to pull off an awesome execute, probably through the kitchen hatch again. which is exactly where they managed to get stung out by the leak backstab, if you recall, on the Bandit earlier in the game.
Look at this quick work already from BDS. They're not aggressing towards site, but they are getting straight in there with the easy hard breaches. Yep, we know we want dirt open, get it done inside 15 seconds. We can focus elsewhere. We're going to hot drop into logistics. The drone is already there. We can work through onto the verticals now, double leveled, so the challenges are more difficult if they want to try and fight against us. Really, really good, decisive play coming in from BDS. And like I say, I don't feel like they've looked like this throughout the entire game, but the last couple of rounds, they've really switched it on.
They have, and I imagine it's only going to continue coming into this round here, Tim. As mentioned, keep your eyes on the Ossa. That'll be the main focal point of this round, but there is going to be some setup work to do first. Which then puts the question back onto Virtus.Pro is, what are you going to do to disrupt this? How can you get up and be aggressive in the faces of BDS so you don't give them full time to execute? I think back to BDS from 2 or 3 years ago, actually, on this exact map. And they always used to say, like, if you're not roaming against BDS, you are signing your own death warrant. They were so good at dropping into 4 or 5 different spots around the basement and just overwhelming you with gunpower. And often they do it with 70 seconds still left on the clock because they've done all they needed to. Oh, there's no roamers. We've got the vertical control we need. We're ready to go in through hatches. Why dance around for another 45 seconds when we can go literally right now? And I don't think that means BDS will go fast here. But they are very, very capable and very confident pushing into this map at the right sort of time. We got the drone bug. That's unfortunate. There we go. And we're up and over.
Angles being used from above them. Plenty of verticality, as we know. Shepard's going to take a little bit of a crouch walk up towards the end of dirt. I think he just wants to check whether any pressure is coming from there or not. He's going to want to play the entirety of the round in there if he can do. But how about that? Nitro over the top, one of the oldest in the book. Pasha manages to find his man, drops the diffuser, uses straight in there to collect it. Going to be sending the bees on into sight. Have a little buzz around and see what they can see, but he knows that he's being challenged from down there. Gets aggressive, goes in, finds one, but the trade is there. Pasha is finding his second in the round. But BDS, they've always got an answer, Des, especially over these last couple of rounds. Brede in a position that he could potentially plant here. The Ossa is gone, so the shields will not be there. Leakafat can do nothing. He's going to have to stick this now, Brede.
Attackers are activating.
He's managed to do just that, but now they've got to win all the gunfights coming out. Pasha, who's kind of a hero in the round, finds himself shut out. And Shaiko and Brede in a clutch situation. Would you rather take anyone else? Maybe you'll have to, Tim. Playing the dancing game here. Can't quite down his man and gets shot from off towards the other side. Always has managed to work his way through. Brede has ditched his man and said, nah, this one's all on you, mate. Oh, he's got to trample off a 1v2. Right sort of idea. And it pulls always up, but always is in for the swing. Virtus.Pro, hold on. When will this game stop going so back and forth?
BDS have got to feel hard done to there. Shaiko taking so much damage off players, but not finding kills in the 2v2. Just left Brede in a very difficult situation. And again, he almost did the right thing, but I think in killing the Malusi, he actually thought he'd got the player who'd been disabling the diffuser, and maybe the cover was from boxes or from else. I think he expected the cover from elsewhere and then heard the movement, but was kind of too late into his own movement. It was so tough for him, but Virtus.Pro doing really, really well to hang on there. It was almost as if they weren't aware of the diffuser going down. There was, no opportunity at least for them to get round and challenge that, but a great retake from them. And as you say, this one just keeps going. 12 rounds of almost madness so far.
Whew. Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? I joked about it earlier on that you might see it was a 2-2, and I was like, you know what? We're seeing enough quality today from Virtus.Pro, at least in the gunfights, that I think they could drag some rounds out and get us towards overtime. But it is building up towards that point. Just one more to go. The battle being, Tim, they're going to have to go and play for those other 2 sites, which might yet be a grave undoing. You know what? For a second, I was like, Brede, you have ditched your man. You've dropped out of Arsenal here. You've left Shaiko to get, shot onto completely separate and really just waited to kind of play off the diffuser itself. But it's worked out wonderfully. Brede with a big 1v2. BDS at least at 6 and 5, sorry, almost a 1v2, but always gets that closing kill to turn things over the way we've now seen. Gym and Bedroom going to be the last site of regulation, then could be the last site of the game, and it could secure BDS those 3 points to really ensure they hold on to that crown at the top of the table. But as I said earlier, Tim, crazier things have happened so far already today.
Yeah, Virtus.Pro defended it back in round 8, if you remember. They were able to lock it down with a big flank from Dan after BDS were forced to push on in because of a bandit trick early in the round, but that is not going to help. Pasha taken down. We've said that BDS have been increasing the speed, increasing the pressure. They've gone up a gear, and they just proved that point. Inside 38 seconds, Solotov takes down Pasha and gives BDS a big advantage in the fight for 3 points.
The ace as well. Like, we speak about entry players playing ace quite a lot these days. I think it was Doku who first said it. It's like, you know, once you've used your utility, you're in for it. You can do a lot yourself. You've got a great gun. Use the Selmas and away you go. Not quite sure what I think most had in mind when an ace is the one charging into the building, going in for a 1 versus 1, but he caught Pasha completely unawares there. Great shutdown, and I still love that, like we've seen most of today, given it's all been on Clubhouse. A lot of respect being shown with the IQ being brought along to deal with the Valkyrie.
Breeders over on that jacuzzi wall this time. Last time I was critical of it not being opened. It was the position that Virtus.Pro were able to turn the round from, but this time they will have no safety, no security stood inside of that corner. So what BDS have done there is just take away another spot for Virtus.Pro. They've forced them out of another angle. Look, Dan's having to run into that area just to get away from the Rotero drone, and Virtus.Pro are increasingly having to take risks.
Some rounds these keepers actually worked against them, if you recall as well, right? It just gave a lot of avenues for BDS to move in, planting behind them on the bed, for example. Not too much they had to worry about. Right sort of idea there with the Grim coming in over the top to skip him out, and sure enough, Users has found him on the long angle. To 5v3 Tim, and they've got to hold on here for 50 seconds, but it feels like it's going to be impossible.
This is it, and look at the tiny area that Joystick is trying to play inside of at the minute, and gets closed down as well by Shaiko, and that happens when you open up those breaches and you take away those areas of refuge. Always looks to get aggressive onto the breach. It's not going to happen. Leak Effect manages to get the kill. Shepard in a 1v5 again, gets himself back to 1v3, can't quite make it 1v2, and the problem is they know exactly where he is right now. So Shaiko goes in. Shaiko can kill. Shaiko can plant. He's going to secure the diffuser. 1v2, Des. Can Shepard do this?
Surely not. Like, surely. They're up on the rappel, Tim. They're laid down outside. They're really playing this one to the absolute nth degree. Surely he doesn't have the read on it either. I doubt he gets to stick it. He might well try, but it's going to be a bit of a bait attempt onto these other 2 players here. In comes Leaky back. In fact, no, it's a bit of a bait on the other side, but Shaiko drops at the same time. Good bit of closing team play from BDS. It was close to going to overtime, but the French team take all 3 points.
Yeah, good stuff from BDS there, just locking out a difficult game. We know that Virtus.Pro have got the ability inside of the server. They showed us that today, but unfortunately, they've come up against the top team in EUL who keep on proving game after game exactly why they are the top team.
Yeah, exactly that, right? They are the team to beat right now. They're at the top of the table. They've got things and amends they want to make after last year. Remembering they just didn't end too strong last year. Didn't get themselves to SI. It was a very eerie place without them. But with how they've played so far this stage, Tim, Manchester is almost there to the taking.
Yeah, it certainly looks that way. They're going to be the heavy favourites, I'm sure, going in there. You know, certainly from the EU region, they're going to be our top team, it would appear, at this point. If they get there, they're not there yet, but they're certainly looking like they're cruising their way there.
See, we Brits can kind of adopt them because they've got users on side. We can sort of pretend, but it is going to be weird when the Brits are cheering on the French. Anyway, we're done with this game. Let's go over to the desk and get their thoughts on how it went.
Thanks so much, Ace and Des. 3 points for BDS, kind of what we expected from this game, but let's be honest, it was probably a lot closer than we expected it to.
Yeah, a lot closer. I mean, we didn't expect Virtus.Pro to show up the way that they did. Let's give props to them first, because I think that they really stepped up their game.
Yep.
This wasn't a BDS that was poor in any way, shape, or form, or reminded us about last week. This was a BDS that we've seen from before, and then just a Virtus.Pro that we've been missing.
Yeah, Virtus.Pro so much improved in performance, but I think the big issue right now is they're running out of time.
Yep.
You know, in terms of, unfortunately, they've got, what, 2 games left in terms of trying to save their season. You know, overtime felt like they would have, I feel like they deserved overtime because they put in a great performance. It was much improved. They played pretty well. You know, a couple of attacking rounds go the other way. They maybe even win it in regulation. They've lost it in regulation, though. And at this point in the season, when you're at that point in the standings, the points matter so much more than the performances.
It's rough having your first, like, really, really good game against BDS.
Yeah.
At this being against any other opponent on this map,
They win.
I think they win, yeah. I think that, sure, they lost Clubhouse twice, but would they have done that? Or no, they won it once, actually. They won against G2, then they lost it once. Would they have lost the first one? I don't know.
It is really difficult though, because like you said, this is the point where you're going to start to wonder like, oh, will we have gotten 1 point from this?
Yeah.
Maybe we would have been in a safer position. Maybe we've gotten 1 point from another game. It's always that woulda, coulda, shoulda, I guess, in this regards. But something that we talked about in the green room when it comes to BDS and their preparation for this game is that when playing against Virtus.Pro, you have to prepare way differently than when you're playing against any other team in Europe.
Yeah, this is a big challenge that BDS haven't really had to face yet. Every other team, they've been able to go in and they've been quite free-flowing. What's the strength of this BDS team is that they do the process well, but actually they've got individual talent on top of that.
Yeah.
Playing Virtus.Pro as a team, you've got to play as a team against them because that's the kind of game they drag you into. And playing them on Clubhouse, which also facilitates that kind of play, meant that this was a whole new dynamic for BDS, and they passed that challenge.
Yeah, in the first game I mentioned, it's hard to play against teams that are maybe not at the level of the others in EUL. And this is a very different way of doing it, right? Because now you're playing against a team that's playing a very different playstyle, but they're very much up there at the top of the league and being able to compete for it. Sure, in the scoreboard, they're not right now, but they are a very good team. They have all those basics. So it's, again, it's so different because if you challenge them, they will shut you down because they're sitting there holding their angles. And if you give away something, they will never let you claw it back. It's a hard team to play against.
And that's the thing is win conditions of rounds in Siege, when you're playing Siege at the minute, generally is gunfights and playing a man advantage situation. Against Virtus.Pro, it's not a lot of the time. You've got to change that win condition and move it over to being time-based, execute-based.
Yeah.
And for BDS, we didn't know whether they'd do that or not playing against Virtus.Pro. They did. Their defenses, they're sat in, they're roaming, they're getting themselves back to site, they're playing 5v5 executes, and then collapsing on the back of it. It was the right approach, and they executed it perfectly.
I mean, I said it the first round in the green room to you, that in the first round of Gym Defense, they're playing Asami. That will deny time for Virtus.Pro, which is something they run out of a lot. They played Goyo for the exact same reason, and then they played Solis to deny the drone game because basics is drone game, and that's what Virtus.Pro is good at. And they countered with 3 operators immediately straight into it.
A few things we saw as well. I think it was one round where it was a church defense. We saw someone bandit tricking the CCTV wall. It's so far spread out, really trying to make sure that they waste as much time as possible from Virtus.Pro because that's where the rounds start to look really long, and that's where Virtus.Pro starts.
Yeah, so it's the 1-2-3s, right? You have that on Clubhouse. You have to play very strict and follow the strats. That's what BDS had to do this game, which is why they can't rely so much on frag power. But if we look at what Virtus.Pro do, as we said, they repeat the same thing over and over and over, which means that BDS looked at that. Okay, we can bandit trick CCTV. We play a player on catwalk as well to deny them from taking garage, and then also denying them from clearing CC, which is the default for them. All of a sudden, they have to completely change their plan, make adaptations, and what have they been really bad at this season?
Adapting. Am I finishing these sentences now?
You're finishing my sentences.
Yes. But that's the thing, right? It's a small investment of utility, but a constant small investment of utility all over the map to buy yourself 10 seconds extra wasted, another 10 seconds wasted. So when that execute comes in, there's barely any time, and then that's when the defenders have the big advantage.
Yep.
It was a matter of discipline today, and I thought BDS actually executed that really well, which we didn't know if they would or not.
It's a very different test. They finished it, and they made it. 3 points is all that matters.
3 points really important, and then, because of how important these last few days are, we're bringing up the standings a lot more to discuss those and see where our teams are. We said BDS is the only team that has confirmed top 6 today. They will remain the only team that has confirmed that top 6 for today. The other teams are still too far away. They're rolling even further away. Look at that 12-point. It's a 5-point difference to the number 2 currently.
Yep, it's a 5-point difference. It's pretty much, at this point, I believe, only Into the Breach that could actually overtake them. And that might not be mathematically accurate based on other people, but I'm fairly sure it's close. And Into the Breach would have to win 2 in regulation, and BDS, not be able to pick up any more points for them not to be number 1. So in my eyes, mathematically it might not be done, but BDS are going to be a top 2 team coming out of EUL.
Yeah, they're going to be. There's no even discussion about that. It's just when you see a team that are dominating as they are, maybe, today it was almost like it was 12 rounds, but they're very dominant in their playstyle. They are this good. They're going to be a top 2 team, and they're going to be at the major.
Sorry, production. Can you just pull those standings back up again for a second if you've got them? Can I test you? So the one thing that just spoke out to me at the end, look at the round difference, by the way. Every team is competing in the pack, and I think we'll talk about that pack. So from 2nd down to, 7th?
Yeah.
Look at the round difference. It's close to 1, plus minus, 2, 3. BDS plus 18. Like, that's how far and away they are clear in this.
I mean, there is a team with a higher number on that plus minus. It's wild. -19.
All right.
I mean, that's the thing, right? They're very different when it comes to the round difference, but also the difference between that. BDS is 5 points away from Into the Breach. That is more than Secret in 3rd are away from Wild, all the way in 9th place. So that's been really, really close. But I think, Fabian, there's 2 players you really wanted to highlight that made this performance so significant.
Yeah, so there's 2 players I wanted to highlight. We can bring up Uses immediately because obviously he had a great game. He played phenomenally. And this is the thing with all these players in BDS. All of them can show up one day and be mechanically dominating the server. Yeah. Today it was Uses. It could have been any one of them.
I mean, he's the top-rated player in EUL.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I consistently said, and you'll remember when you was on the desk with me ages ago, before you went back to G2, that we always said about Uses, is he's a match winner. He's a round winner. Is that he provides that consistency in that kind of flex role that you want.
Yep.
But those late round situations, he is absolutely unflappable and will just win you rounds.
I mean, there's a reason I wanted to pick him up 3 times during my career, both as a player and then as a coach.
Yeah,
it's
ridiculous.
Just, yeah, he is one of the best players. He actually declined us. That's the funny part. From M&M, he said no twice. Whatever reason he had, I don't know, but he enjoyed his team. And the consistency we've seen from him since he changed over to BDS, that's my biggest issue with him. He wasn't consistent. Now he is, and he's playing really well. There's one more player, though, and this one doesn't surprise anybody because it's Shaiko. But the reason is probably surprising to everybody. Shaiko today, he played operators we don't normally see from him, and this is something you couldn't expect from him. He played 3 rounds of Flores, 2 rounds of Capital, and 1 round of Deimos. Who in their right mind would have said 3 months ago, yeah, we're going to see Shaiko play a flex support, flex player role, and be like, yeah, that's serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody.
And especially on this map as well, because previously when Shaiko was on old BDS, he would be on an ARX operator with a bit of Ayana or Nomad, and he would take the same routes because he was played on a gun and played to get kills. If it was a basement attack, he would take blue only.
Yep.
If it was a gym attack, he would take construction. You could basically path out his routes because the investment was put into him and kills. Now he's playing for the team with utility, with those operators.
Yeah.
Big change for him, but it's good to see as well.
It shows flexibility, and that's one of the things that you need to see with players. Usually, when you have a player that's very one-dimensional, that suffers for the entire team. Shaiko has turned out from being a very one-dimensional fragger to a multi-dimensional Superman.
That is a big improvement because a bit of a trip down memory lane. I remember SI in 2023 in Montreal. There was this graphic where we showed Shaiko versus League Effect, the operators that they played. Yeah. Shaiko only played Yana. League Effect played like 23 operators or something. So seeing that from Shaiko is absolutely insane. I'm really happy to see that kind of flexibility from him specifically. But we, of course, have one more game today for Europe League. Our final game of the day will be G2 versus Wolves. We'll be back in a bit.